found the last 3 months has been really, really difficult, to be honest. But I've
Three
been
months.
practicing that
Yeah.
thing that I go on about all the time. Put
The
your
heart.
hand on your heart,
Yeah, yeah.
relax your jaw. I see you doing a bit of that as well. Relax your jaw,
Uh-huh.
relax your eyes, let your shoulders go, and just draw in from your heart. And that's where the inspiration and the intuition will come through to guide us through this very, very bizarre time on planet Earth. You know,
Yeah, it's been quite. So you're talking. We're getting online now. We got people coming in now, but yeah, obviously. So you said what 3 months? So that would be what? Let me see. August.
yeah,
Yeah. So I came back from Soulogy Fest. So that June was the eclipse. I got back the 9th. The eclipse was the 10th, and there was June and July were pretty wild, and then August, yeah, late August. There was like a roll started late August through September, which was I don't want to say nasty, but man, October the 10th, 11th, and 12th, everything just seemed to like I literally was like, okay, we're in this now. You have these times we've had where you're like, hey, the world's different,
yeah.
but the August 10th, 11th, 12th to me, it was like that we're in this now, and so there was about a week of just almost like a spiritual bloodbath.
Oh, I
It was
understand.
everywhere.
Yeah,
Every everywhere I looked, it was like that. And then you know, I just kept going. We're going to come out the other side of this, and it's just been incredible for the last week. Uh, Morgan's, for a long time talked about putting yourself in the octahedron. Ever since I met her, and she'd been doing that before. And then, a few months ago, it started coming in. The octahedron is the grid. And then she started doing these, or she started I guess, refocusing on in the sessions she was doing, in the sessions we do together, putting ourselves in an octahedron. And over the last 10 days, she's just had phenomenal sessions with people. And then, of course, the sessions we do together, phenomenal, just unfucking believable. And she's been having some pretty incredible experiences. I have too, and I've been observing other people. And then, of course, Franco transitions, and there were a lot of stuff was going on then, which I think was reflective of the collective.
yeah.
And then just watching, you know, Magenta Pixie goes to the hospital. Amanda Lawrence is in the hospital. Many people, you go on to Facebook and it's send prayers, send prayers, send prayers, and either for themselves or somebody else. People transitioning. Yeah, we are trouble. These two are trouble. So is Jinjin. But uh, I don't know, man. It was like I came out of this thing going, like with his transition. I was just like, everybody's sending me messages, and are you okay? And I'm like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm celebrating the expansion of it all, and I'm seeing things in a different way. It's real. It's not just a bunch of words, but yeah. So you thought you were going to go?
Oh,
Did
yeah.
you?
Yeah,
What
I'll
happened?
explain it. Just let me take this off because I think this is interfering with the energy trying to come through from the grand central sun to inspire me to say words of wisdom. But yeah, I thought it was a goner because what happened is the week before, I mean, every day's weird for me, like and I get up in a different world every single day with different feelings and basically different pains in different parts of my body. I think over the last 3 months, I've suffered every disease and illness known to mankind. But the
Really?
way I get told it, because I get the information, it comes in from my left ear and it's almost fed to me from my heart. And my heart really opens up and my soul comes through. This is the way I explain it. I mean, I just get a whole load of really powerful thoughts, and I get you're being looked after. You're being recalibrated,
Yeah.
right? We are with you. And I'm thinking, who's talking to me? How can I know that and trust you? Because this pain is unbearable. And I get, bear with it and see how you feel tomorrow. And it's gone. But it goes to a different part of my body then, Todd. And I think, fuck, here we go. What now? But for the last 3 months, I've got to be honest, it's been like a living hell for me.
Really?
And I can do that thing. I can psych myself out of it and say, oh, it's all part of the process. But it's bloody painful. The thing about it all is, during the whole process, I'm not bothered one way or the other. It just doesn't touch part of me. It's almost like there's a part of me watching all this go on. So it's like there's Joe, because I see that the ego is the human. It's the 3D human. That's what I see the ego is.
Hmm.
You know, and I think the higher self is the soul that pushes the ego out of the way. And when it finds an obstruction, the ego has to look at it, observe it, and see where it went wrong, either personally in the past or some ancestral link as well. Because I don't believe in sort of illness and wellness as such. I believe in flow or obstruction. That's where I'm up to now.
Well, I
And
think that's definitely true. Yeah,
yeah,
no doubt.
and I think what happens is pain. I mean, I teach sort of integrative medicine and stuff, and the central tenet of integrative medicine is any pain is simply an obstruction to what's called the V medicatrix naturae, the natural healing flow of life and energy. So any obstruction at all is just a blockage in that flow as a consequence of being stopped by a particular choice at the time, whether that be a personal choice or a collective choice or whatever. And I've realized that now, Todd. I mean, we've been talking about this for a long time now. But if I'm feeling emotionally disturbed, whether I like it or not, there's always a lesson or some sort of idea or some sort of further knowledge to be gained from stopping, taking a step back, sinking deep, and saying to your intuition, what is it that you're trying to show me here?
Yeah.
And that's how I live my life now. And just to go on what happened to me, the week before I had this sort of episode, I started to get real lightheaded, and my insides were in a right mess. And then I had a day where I was just on the loo all day long, just clearing, 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 clearing. It was horrendous. The sweat was pouring off me, and
Sorry.
frig off you.
I'm,
This is
I'm sorry. I can relate. Yeah. Go
yeah.
ahead.
I know. You're still going through.
Okay.
Have you finished anyway? Do you need to pop off for a second
No,
or
no,
two?
I'm good.
No,
I'm
no,
good.
okay.
Yeah.
When I say pop off, oh, that's a bad word. Anyway, so yeah, so you know me, I sort of get on with stuff, and in the last month, I've had a few I do a lot of charity runs and swims and things like that. So I
Mm.
thought, well, I'm not going to give those up, so I'll just take it easy. So I did a half marathon. I swam across one of the most dangerous waterways in the world, the River Mersey, and I did the London Marathon as well, as you do within the
Good
same month,
gosh.
feeling shit, because I'm an idiot like that, mate. I'm over in the UK. They call people like me dickheads, what I mean? So anyway, cut a long story short, right? We have park runs at 9 a.m. every Saturday morning, and I thought, well, I'll go along there just to see how I'm getting on. And as I was walking to the start line, I started to see all like swirly things coming from all directions, almost like homing in from every direction. And then I started to see like rainbow fluttering things. I thought, aye, what's this? And so what I did was I closed one eye and they were still coming at me, closed the other eye, they're still coming at me, closed both eyes. It was going on inside me, but outside of me as well. And I thought, well, I don't know what this means. I feel fantastic. I'm
Yeah.
going to go and run. So I ran, and after 2 minutes, right, no word of a lie, Todd, after 2 minutes, out in front of me, about 6 foot ahead of me, this bloody great big portal opened up, like a swirling portal. Sometimes in meditation, when you've got your eyes closed, you can get the portal and you can go through it. Well, this
Mm.
was right. This was outside of me. And, and at the same time, I saw this portal, right, my chest just went woof and gripped. I thought, oh
Wow.
my God, I'm dying. I'm dying. But there was another part of me that was watching all this. It was like sort of at the cinema watching what was happening to Joe. You know what I mean? So I thought that I was just about to zoom into this portal, and that was the end of it. And I thought, I don't want this. So what I did was I stopped. I put my hands on my heart. I let my shoulders go. I let everything relax, and I started breathing in and out from my heart. And I said, "Please show me what's going on here. Please show me what's going on." Right? I said, because I don't want to go yet. I don't want to go. And I want to talk about this, Todd. Whether you've got any experience of this, because they say people, the soul chooses when it goes. Well, little human Joe was saying, "Well, I don't want to go yet, soul, because I think I've got lots of other stuff to do and a lot more life to enjoy, and I don't want to lose my wife, and I don't want to lose my kids, and I don't want to lose the pets, and I don't want to lose those close to me. I'm not ready to go yet." So what I did was, right, I carried on for a bit. It started to settle down, but the pain was really intense and the sweat was pouring off me, right? And then I carried on with the run because I'm an idiot, mate. I'm an idiot. So I ran a bit, sprinted a bit, ran a bit, sprinted a bit. The reason I carried on with, because once you've done 100 of these park runs, they give you the black T-shirt, and I want the T-shirt.
The
So,
black T-shirt.
so I got over the line, put my time in and all that sort of stuff. Walked back to the car, sat in the car, put my hand on my heart again. I said, "What's going on?" I just go, "Take it easy during the day." So for the rest of the day, I just took it easy, although the tension was still there. And that evening we had a meal, and as we finished the meal, I said to Catherine, I said, "That pain's coming back again." Right. And then I got the grip back again. I thought, shit, I'm having a heart attack. So she phoned an ambulance. There was some confusion about where the ambulance was and all that. So in the end, she put me in the car and drove me to the hospital. Um, and I really thought I was going to die, Todd. I was in a terrible state. So it was a 9-hour waiting list. It was a 9-hour waiting time, really, to get seen properly by a doctor. But in the meantime, you go through like a filtering technique, called triage. So I had an ECG done, EKG. That
Right.
was normal. And then I had some bloods taken. And we were sitting, well, I was sitting there and I thought, I can't hang on anymore. My ECG's okay. So phoned Catherine. She came back and got me. And then I went home and had a sleep. Now, when I woke up the next morning, there were 5 calls on my mobile phone to say, please come back immediately, and I'd missed this.
Oh.
And I thought, well, there we go. It must be the blood test results, Anyway, it was. The cardiac enzymes were raised, and they were concerned that I was going to have another heart attack in the night. Anyway, so they kept me in for the day. I had a whole load more tests. And in the end, they came to me and they said, the results are equivocal. We don't know what's going on here. Right. We don't know exactly whether you'd have had a heart attack or whether it's some other thing. So we're going to let you go home, and we'll get in touch with you. Anyway, so what I think's happened is, Todd, I'm coming up to 67 years of age now. And probably in that last month, I've overdone it in all sorts of ways, I mean, and I did look at the science and the studies, and it is possible that long-term exercise can actually mimic these sorts of features, Right. So where I'm up to now is, how do I feel? I still feel shit. The pain in my chest's gone away completely. You know, I feel, I just feel strange, mate. I feel strange, but I don't feel concerned at all. And I've been on to a few other people, who are going through similar stuff, and I just feel like I've been looked after through this process, and I don't really understand what it was about. So that's where I'm up to, really. I'm back fighting fit almost, but I'm going
Yeah.
to gently sort of try and make a recovery and get back to me sort of normal jokey self. But it was a shock at one level, and at another level, I wasn't phased at all by it.
Yeah. God, that's a lot, man. So I had this. I don't really ever think about what are we going to talk about, especially with you, because we just get in and roll. But I had this thought as I was getting ready. well, not thought, I just, this word came to me, mortality. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. But now I can kind of get it. So this thing about some people are talking about, obviously there's something really, really shifted in October. I'm not the only one saying, like, we're in this thing now. I mean, we're really, really in this thing, which means, one, as a lot of people have kind of prognosticated, people are transitioning. Uh, Also, these intense medical, situations, and some have explained it in a way that it's like, okay, do you want to stay or not? So, in other words, this whole thing with COVID and with vaccines and with everything else being presented or being looked at from the perspective of, do I want to be here? Do I want to continue this? But at the same time, there's this huge expansion of the individual having what we're going to refer to as, let's say, borderline or full supernatural experiences and abilities coming online. So, you know, it's interesting because just through the natural process, I had stuff. What's today? Wednesday. So I started on the 10th. Franco on the 10th. Both came down. Mine came in, and I documented it and everything. And of course, mine was 5 days, and then his was I think ran about 14 or 15 before he elevated. And what ended up happening was, so this would have been this last week, right? So I don't know the exact day. Maybe it was Tuesday or something. So anyway, what ended up happening was the day after he transitioned, I knew I had to get up and just do these 3 shows. I just said, I got to do it. Well, the next day they canceled, and the next day they canceled. And then I had 2 days, 1 day off, and then the day after that canceled. So I thought, okay, I'm supposed to just like sit in this, and I didn't feel anything, like deep, or I was just, it was like just happening, like on automatic pilot. But when I came out of it, I was like, you know, this isn't. I'm not seeing this. I'm not in touch with grief and sadness. Um, I'm not. I'm understanding that people are choosing, like you said, from the soul level when they want to leave, which makes sense. But at the same time, and you're the perfect example. You had this presented before you, uh, and your human said, "I'm not ready." And I think that's very significant. I can't really put all the pieces together, but I really feel like, in my own experience, and it's got to be something that's happening. I got very vocal over the last 3 months with my aspects and said, I will have a voice here. And of course, then you have running with that, you have these things happening with the body, which, on one hand, and I haven't really suffered much. I really haven't since probably July, 2 months of juicing, and pretty much other than when I got that illness. But my point is that that's happening. Like I can feel my body. I was telling Morgan yesterday, I actually feel like I'm in the I can go play basketball at 59 years old, and I do all right. Like I don't feel like, I actually feel like I'm getting stronger and something lighter. So I don't know, but this whole thing about the way Franco went out, I think he went out like a boss. If I look at everything that was set up, there was some way he knew he set this up. But as everything goes, it's collective as well. Just as what you're enduring, what you were enduring. That's something I've been picking up with people in myself is, hey, when you're going through something, obviously there's a collective aspect as well. But my point is, the whole death program. The whole death program to me feels like when he made his grand elevation, there was a huge impact on that. And then you just saw it spring up everywhere. And I don't know. I just feel like that it's time that it's somehow or another the putting away or integrating or whatever you want to call it, bringing into the right perception what death is not is up. And I think that's really what this period between, I'm going to say between now and the end of next year, because people have talked about this. They've talked about 25% of the population transitioning during this period, and that's not just Franco. So, I won't get into all the stuff that backs that up or the people that are saying that to substantiate it, but it sure feels that way. But like everything else, we've accelerated the timelines over and over and over again. I think that's one thing we did in October, hugely accelerated it, and I think he was a big part of that. But yeah, so it's an interesting mix. The soul is in command, yet the human has a voice. Dr. Joe's running his race, and this is happening to you, and the human says, "Wait a minute, I'm not ready to go." Yeah. And somehow or another, that feels like whatever you were going through, whether it was a physical threat or not, you energetically said, "No, I'm not ready yet," and it was heard, and that's just how I pick it up.
See, I've had quite clearly that the soul is coming through the soul, the I am presence. He's working its way through Joe's body, and he's working his way to the obstructions, right? And it's almost like a little mini dino rod that's going through, working in coming in from the ethers, if you like, these morphogenic fields and stuff like that, at different frequencies and vibrations at different parts of the body. So I think that's what's actually happening, is the energy's coming in. It's not, I won't call it a cleansing energy, I'll call it a de-obstructing energy. Yeah. And I think that and so it hits a sort of we'll call it a choice point. Do you want to go further with this? Well, if you do, you need to look at the lesson that's behind this. Let's call it a lesson for now, for want of a better word. Right. And the lesson is that in the past, you always said yes here. We're going to set up, or the soul will set the stage now. So you get the opportunity to say no, 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 and really mean it. And that will then de-obstruct this thing that's been there for a long time, and you'll feel new energy and new power to come in. So this is about an empowerment process, really, by the human taking the actions that weren't taken in the past for various reasons, or that don't serve the human in this present time. So that's where I'm up to. So I get the Louise Hay stuff, where every single cell basically has got a lesson or a rebalancing to take place because of some new behavioral input that needs to come into. So in a way, it's about behavioral reform, and sometimes I do feel like this is a prison planet, and sometimes it just, so I have all these thoughts, but I feel that I'm a sort of a spearhead, if you like, for the rejuvenation process. I think that that's what's going to happen, and Todd, I could be completely barking up the wrong tree, but this is what I feel really strongly, that the bits of me that haven't been working properly are coming back online, right? I'll get stronger physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and almost like be maybe a little bit ahead. I'm not saying of anything special, but maybe a little bit further, just to show people how it can possibly happen, and people can be reformed in resonance with their primal soul's purpose. Just let me say this next bit. The soul, it does have an agenda. It must have an agenda, Only the prime source doesn't have an agenda. Where there's a sort of non-dual awareness, right? There's no agenda there. That's pure potential, total potentiality, if you like. But the soul then, which is an offshoot of that, right? It must have some sort of specific purpose or intention of coming here to Earth to experience. So each individual soul has an individual frequency that is out of alignment initially, but through combination and collaboration between the soul and the human, it can be put right, and both benefit as a consequence of that. I've got no idea what's just said there, but I think
no, I'm in 100% agreement with you. And I've been watching or rewatching Initiation, which is Matthias De Stefano on Gaia.
Yeah.
And also watched Journey to Remembering, which is 3 episodes that he made before that series, which tells his whole story, which is amazing. It's been full of code. And to go to what you're saying, okay, what I'm finding is that every single moment uh, it's a choice point, obviously, but it's the same choice over and over. So whether I'm looking or contending with something that is, let's just say, of a physical nature or of a human nature in my body, or something in front of me, okay, presented to me like somebody triggers or wants to trigger or whatever it is, okay, a choice of any kind, I'm finding it's the same decision every time. And that decision is, can I create, can I initiate and reach for and ultimately achieve an equilibrium with what I'm feeling as an imbalance or what I'm being presented with as an imbalance. And I mentioned this yesterday, and it was a really good example for me. First of all, watching Matthias De Stefano's 3-part series, Journey to Remembering, his actual story from I want to say 2010 to 2013. In that story, I saw my story, I saw your story, I saw everybody's story. It was the guidance coming in, being told to go do things, and the resistance, so to speak, that presented itself in just the way that the pattern worked. You don't get the savings account. You don't get plans in concrete for the next 6 months. Everything is very much being put into the present and that faith, right? So he had this one episode where it was like the 3rd or 4th place that he went to do grid work in South America. He goes, and I'll just run through it real quick. It's a very special area. He was in a car with 3 people, a black energetic snake, and they're 200 kilometers away from any other city. A black energetic snake started swirling around the car, flipped it over. It crashes. Everybody's okay. It's just the hand of God. They get out 200 kilometers away from any city, and there's an ambulance pulls up behind them and says, "Are you okay?" So they go back to the city. They find out that this happens in this area. So he starts to talk to his guides, and he starts to. They tell him, connect with that energy, and understand that energy wants to unify as well. That energy wants to expand as well. So going back to what you said about the soul's purpose, which isn't always in a human body, right? It has a purpose. That purpose is to expand and to come to a higher alignment. So the bottom line is, he used this analogy that these spirits were protecting a sacred space, and he saw them as guard dogs, like some people see dragons in front of a portal. And so he sat with them and he told them what his intention was. He unified with them. He said, yes, your dark energy, and this is your path, and this is how you want to experience it. This is where I'm coming from. It was a very important thing for me, because I understood in that moment what I'd been getting slowly over the years, but to a greater degree and a more reverent degree of everything. So I come out of that and I look at everything again, and I see how that's really what it's come down to. Like, I put up a post yesterday, or something happened, and I saw a comment, which is kind of typical, which was, I am not that darkness. I am not going to identify with that. And I thought, well, there it is. And I'm not judging anyone, and I'm just saying the way I've seen the trajectory of my life for the last 10 years, the more I can come into equilibrium with anything, including the 10th of October, when I felt something come in, and some people said to me, some high frequency people, you're being attacked. I sat down. I went through a procession of demons, what we might call demons. I found equilibrium with them. 5 days later, I come out of it. My body went through hell. Energetically, it clears and equalizes. 3 days more of the body going through it, and I'm done. But what I'm trying to say is, everything is the goddess particle. And this is what I'm understanding watching his program, and everything else that comes in. And that's the way I see all of this. Now, is there a right or wrong approach? I don't think so. I think some souls are choosing to stay in that uh, whatever that was. So, so to stay in that, I don't want to say battle, but you know what I mean. And
Yeah.
some are choosing, or their role is to is to bring it into higher alignment. That's where they're at in their journey. But that's kind of how I see it. And everything from every single decision. You know, Morgan and I went through a very tough period from about the 13th to the 20th, and it was like sayonara. You
Yeah.
know, but it wasn't. It was done with. It was just that same situation. It was the same thing. Are is the energy going to come into equilibrium, or is it not? And being okay with whatever it might be, right? So it's the same thing with what happens to the body, or like in your situation, or these attacks. Because if I have an attack, to me, I ordered that.
Yeah.
That's brought up by me,
Yeah.
and so what am I going to do with it? And I will just say this last part. I refuse to participate in this illusion, but I also to um, refuse to not deal with anything that comes my direction now, right? And for anyone that wants to watch that show, that 3-part series, he goes to the Vatican, and he's there for 4 days because he's told sit in whatever the square is there, and you're going to see the Pope. And lo and behold, 4 days later, he's in front of the Pope. But his team, and I'm talking about incarnated people and his guides, went there with the intention that I described. They were giving reverence to the church. They were giving reverence to their role, no matter how gritty or horrific it might be. And they were honoring it. And that created the miracles, the many miracles that was the template, right? And so that's kind of where I'm at. And so for you to go through that, what you described earlier, to me, that says the same thing to me. Yeah.
Todd, exactly the same. I don't believe that we get attacked. I get I get it's basically testing our metal. That's the way I see this now. You know, tests of faith, if you want to call them that, as such. And I really don't believe in triggers in the way that most people do, because I think a lot of people talk about being protected from the triggers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
My view is that the trigger is there to highlight an aspect that needs dealing with, acted upon, to be removed. So it's almost like self-exorcism, if you like. You know, I think that's what self-awareness is. So if I feel the grip at all in it, I've sort of trained myself now, or been trained in, if I feel even the slightest tug now when any event happens, that's something that I need to look at. What is it attached in me? And it's for me then to take out the hook, and then the trigger, the thing that's causing the trigger, will then dissipate when I've taken the right action. So every time a trigger comes in, whether it be even the slightest bit of a jag, right, or even a big thump, I think it's always a lesson to help us to go deeper. Or if you like, the I am that I am, being the soul or the light. See, even the phrase the light body doesn't seem to make sense to me anymore. My favorite color is gray. A million shades of gray, because I think
You
that,
sexy beast. You
yeah,
sexy
because
beast.
hey, I am the, the I am that I am is anyway, that's another story. But what I'm trying to say to you, when you were talking about that, all that was coming to me was the yin yang symbol, the yin yang. And the yin yang to me represents a whole soul. There's an anima and there's an animus. They're
Yeah.
both, I think it's animum is the central point where there's perfect equilibrium. But what I've learned is, in order to achieve perfect equilibrium, we have to let go and surrender to the higher self then, because he can see, it can see, she can see, whatever. They can see what needs to be done. But when we remain in the intellect of the human, we're
Yeah.
just bouncing from one state. The scales, we're going from one side to the other. And I see that the third eye is when we go up into the triangulation point, we let go of those two things and they automatically come back into alignment then without any interference from the human. And I know that you know that because we've talked about that before. But that's what acceptance is to me, and surrender. It means I, human ego Joe, have got no effing idea what's going on here. Whereas previously, I would like you to tell me so I can see whether I like what's coming up or not. In this stage that we're in now, it's Joe, you don't need to know. You'll see what's happening in 3 months' time. So just let go. We're guiding you through this process, whether your rational mind knows it or not, because this is beyond your rationality here. This is
Mm-hmm.
beyond your mind. It's beyond symbols. It's beyond words. It's beyond everything, Joe. Let go. We've got you. And Todd, I swear to you, I've never had so many ooshes up my spine. And I have this feeling like this great big cloak comes round me to sort of shuffle me through all these things that I'm going through. You know, and people say to me, well, what's happening? And I say, I've got absolutely no idea whatsoever. And they say to me, well, you're supposed to know.
You're supposed
and,
to know.
and then they
That's
say
the
to me,
point.
what do you think I should do? And I said, I don't even know what I should do, right?
Yeah.
All I can say is I've got a feeling that I tune into, and it sort of guides me through these precarious situations that I find myself in. Now,
Right on.
whether that's having faith and trust, well, I've got that. And I also know, Todd, that the I am that I am is immortal. It's
Yeah.
immortal. I've got no fear of dying at
Yeah.
all. What I don't want is to suffer. I don't want to suffer.
Me either.
That's where
Me
I'm up to.
me either. I don't want to suffer either, but I think what your little episode that anecdote you were telling us about, there's a difference between saying, "Hey, I want to stay," versus you know, I'm afraid to die, or you know what I mean? Like I don't want to go because I'm afraid, you know, hey, look, there's this comment. It actually sounds like you. I don't know who this is because it's on one of the platforms that doesn't have the user's name, but it so this person says, and please identify yourself if you want to. Numinous, that sounds like you, is a good term that I like to put forward for others to discuss and circulate. It refers to a state of reverence of one's attitude for dealing with a sacred subject or activity, specifically going more towards a sacred or set apart aspect. Something held in a numinous light is apart from all the normal and mundane. And they go on. So that's kind of what I came out of this with too, was like everything is sacred. If there is whatever it is presented to me, if it's, I've talked about having exchanges with police officers, which I think has all been equalized, but the unjustness or anything that comes your way, it's all sacred. And to me, that's what this group was doing that I was talking about when they went in South America, dealing with these entities that actually were apparitions and had force. They were approaching them with reverence. And I think that's pretty important. And then this thing about, what you're talking about, I don't know anything. I look at, I want to put a meme up, and I don't know exactly how it's going to be worded, but one day it's going to probably be maybe it's the last one I ever do. And it's like, we're always looking at like people coming to you and saying, what do I do? I don't know. Well, you're supposed to know. But when, I think, when are we going to know? When are we going to have some hard evidence that we're really making progress, if that's even relevant? You know what I mean? Because I don't know. But when, if Soulogy ever, and I believe it will, has that social community, has the whole network it's been, and I've talked about it, as it's been given to me, and I've been talking about it, I would like to consider that that the community aspect looks like Facebook, except for you can't comment. You can't comment on people's posts. Okay, follow me here. Because I go down the news feed, and I don't do a lot of surfing, but I go down and see enough that why is it that we have to correct people? Why is it that we have to create this frequency of toxicity, because that's what it is, and codependency, because it requires the engagement of the tennis ball going back and forth. And I thought, wouldn't it be sweet to be able to just let people post or express, because that's just a metaphor, right? Post or express or whatever they want without anybody having to say a goddamn thing. And if you get inspired or triggered by it, you go do your own post. You know, I saw Jin Jin put up a post yesterday, and that's what it said. I was going down the news feed. I saw something that triggered me. I didn't put anything. I didn't wish them bad luck, or I just kept scrolling. Right? So, like, to me, that's another thing that's happening is uh we're being put in the real present by force or flow, and it's these little bitty things that are literally going to change the world. It's not going to be us going out and bitching and moaning and complaining. It's going to be these little things in integrity, uh, and in humility that we interface, and we walk away. I'll give you a last example. You and I meet 2 years ago. We're carrying certain energy at the time. There's no doubt in my mind, like everybody here, that we've come to a higher alignment. And each time that we've met, we come away with less imbalance. The code exchange is more pure.
Yeah.
And it's, I'm looking at myself, you're looking at yourself, more of that direction than when we first came into this physical physical awareness of each other. We both had more programs running. We both will walk away. I know you lit me up. I lit you up, triggers. You can call it triggers. You can call it inspiration, because either way, too much light, too much dark is a charge. Yeah. And our space beyond just pretty words is this neutrality, this third eye. I love that. This third eye representing that 0 point field of that soul highway. Yeah. So, yeah, back to you.
Yeah, and one thing that I've learned as well, because it's all about balance. When I was going through this process in the hospital, right, I realized that there might have been a necessity for me to take medication. Now, I don't take medication unless I have to, but I'm not opposed to it. I'm something called an independent consultant in integrative medicine. I'm not a doctor of medicine. I'm a doctor in medicine, and I'll just explain that. It took me 7 years to do a PhD in medicine, and my PhD is about how what goes on between your ears impacts upon the rest of your body. So really, it's how we process information, how that then sends signals to various parts of our body, right? Almost to sort of materialize that processing that's going on in our minds. So it was to try and sort of establish a link between consciousness and conscientiousness, and how our body feels and responds to those signals, because the body is a sacred, it's a faithful servant to the signals that it's being sent. Yeah. Now, most people don't know that, because they think it's their conscious mind that's sending the signals. And of course, partly that is, but 4/5 of the information that's being processed is in the unconscious part of our mind. And that's what most people don't understand, that their behavior, the way their body's responding, all illness is as a consequence of either fear or pride that's coming from their unconsciousness. And if you like, the hidden part of our minds. And I'm trying like mad now to show people how they can reconnect with their essential self and allow that process to guide them, and to understand that the fear and the patterns and everything else are below the level of their consciousness. And they say, no, that doesn't apply to me. And I say, hang on. I've just said it's below the level of your consciousness, so you're not aware of it. And they say, well, how do you become aware of it? I say, you develop an intimate relationship with your body. So get back into your body, and every time it makes a move or it shouts out of you, stop, take a step back, and say to that part of your body, What is it, please, that you're trying to show me? And this is Todd. This is what's helped me now, and I'm really well tuned into my body most of the time now. So
Mm.
I really don't take any medications or anything unless I really have to, because I think that that does interfere with the processing of the signals and the direction of them. I'll finish off in a minute. But what I'm trying to say is I didn't have to go on any medication. I wouldn't have refused it if I felt it was the correct thing for me. And people might say, well, oh, yeah, but you're into integrative medicine. Surely you should, because I've had that surely all my life. You should do this. What if this happens? I don't get into that anymore. I go, I don't know what the thing to do is. I'm going to ask me heart, and I'm going to allow that to show me, you know.
Yeah.
And the point I'm trying to make here is I know now, and you mentioned the word toxicity. The planet is toxic, mostly chemically toxic. Our food is toxic, the skies are toxic, our water's toxic, and our minds are toxic. And I think that that cleansing process is the de-obstruction process that comes from being in the 0 point and allowing that inspiration to come through in that quiet time. So I'm really going on tonight. I didn't expect this, but this is what happens. But what I've realized is, if we're distracted all the time and looking outwards, there's no chance whatsoever, right, of
That's correct.
finding out what we need to let go of or take action on. Final point. Does it mean to say then that we just need to sit there and send out love to everybody and then the world will become a better place? I don't think it's like that myself. I think there's something called inspired action. And I think sometimes not reaction, because I think reactions, unconscious emotional reactivity. I think that's what we've got to get away from. But what I'm saying is to sit there, and sometimes I'll get a feeling of go and phone that person, go and see that person and say no. So sometimes take an action, and maybe, Todd, even punch with love. Sometimes you have to knock people out and drag them. No, when
I agree. I agree.
when
Yeah.
someone's drowning, Todd, and I think that I get used for this quite a lot. Being Mr. Trigger. I think sometimes when somebody's drowning, Todd, you have to run out, and if you get too close to them, they'll drag you down, and both
Mm-hmm.
of you'll be drowned. So sometimes you have to go over, punch them, knock them out, and while they're unconscious, drag them to the shore, wake them up, and say, "Here, son, that's the better direction for you." I think
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we have to do that.
Yeah.
So I think what I'm trying to say is sometimes you've got to punch with love, right, to balance your own books
Yeah.
up as well.
And sometimes you got to let them drown because
Yeah,
that's your
and
your
and
perception. That's your perception that they're drowning. I had to do some of that this period, this 2 or 3 week period. I had to just, what can you do? I mean, we're all going to get to the same place. Now you bring up something else too. That this, like in the example, in the metaphoric, because I mean the physical is metaphoric. It's
yeah,
metaphoric of the energetics.
yeah,
We had a beautiful lady come on uh, 10 days ago from Australia. And we all know what's going on over there. You can't function in society. You can't, you're basically blackballed if you don't have a vax. Uh, she was told to get one by her guidance. This is a, you know, 15 years in the soup, and doing her thing, very similar to story. And most of the people that come on here, most of the people that watch, and she got very confused about it, and then woke up the next morning and knew that's what she had to do. Now, I've heard other people talk about this. Uh, I love what you said about you'll know when it's presented to you. You don't know if you would take it or agree to it in terms of whatever the medication is. And this again is a metaphor. And so I think that's really important. Somebody just put up a comment about, if you're charged, it's about you. And that's true. So if you go and do whatever you want to do with your body, that's none of my fucking business. And if I make it my business, then I got something I need to work on. And if I'm going to deny that, then I'm just in my ego. And so I really feel like we're being supported or maybe it's just happening, and we can make it easy or whatever, but that whole thing about staying in your own lane, I think is really important. And I think there's something I want to ask you about this. I don't know what you can offer on this, but I'm all ears. So you got the higher self, you've got the subconscious, which you kind of went into a minute ago, the unconscious, the subconscious, uh, and then you have the conscious, the conscious. And that's what the ego, the intellect. It's a multifaceted, right? But that's been our main operating system, or we thought. Then we start getting this thing online. Then we start doing, inner child work and all the other stuff we do, the regressions, and the subconscious starts to feed us a little information. But the subconscious is a huge player here. Like, that's the bridge. The way I see it, you got the conscious, the higher self, and then you've got this bridge of the subconscious, which is this great abyss, this great unknown, this personal Akashic record, right? So and to me, that's what's becoming more expansive. Not to say that's the only thing, but that information is coming online. What are your thoughts on that? What is the makeup there? What is the subconscious? What can you offer on that? How do we tap in? Do we need to tap in? Is it a bridge? I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I don't call it the unconscious or subconscious. I actually call it the other than conscious.
Other than
Because
conscious.
it's far more conscious than we are. Do you see what I mean? So the word itself, conscious and all that, is a bit of an obstruction in itself. It's feelings to me. I think that when you go into the heart and you relax, the picture I have is the gates of the heart open up, and that then is the reservoir of all the wisdom that's required. I also think the Akashic records, I think there's a point, because the Akashic records to me is almost like a karmic imprint, right? And I think true freedom, right, exists beyond that. I think real freedom is when you've actually transcended karma, right? Because in a way, it's a memory base, isn't it? So we're always working from memory. If there's some sort of record, it must be imprinted on a file somewhere. Right. And then if we link into it and emotionally engage with it, there's a possibility that we might revolve in the same old story that went on 100,000 years ago. Do you see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I think that we can actually transcend, right? But we can include it because it might be useful. But the problem is, if we lock onto it and it takes us backwards and we go into that old loop, right, then we haven't learned the lesson. I think that memory is knowledge base. Wisdom is when the essential self can actually use the mind, whether it be conscious or other than conscious. It can use the mind for its own purposes rather than the mind using it. Have I made sense so
Yes.
far?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And how do you know? How do you know when the mind's using you and you're not using the mind because you feel emotionally engaged with it, even though you don't want to be? So I'll just say this last bit. It's the difference between subjective consciousness and objective consciousness, because to me, objective consciousness means that you don't take it personally anymore.
Yeah.
So you're in a completely different space. And I think that's what I'm trying to say, Todd, is that we transcend the human ego. The human ego to me doesn't dissolve. It's just that the links and the bonds that attach unconsciously, those are the things that we understand to let go of them.
Yeah.
Does that make some sort of sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I saw this meme the other day, and it was your belief system is possessed in your mind. Kind of like, don't let it possess your mind. Something like that. And then the other thing you're talking about too is the body. Like, we really think of the body as the most human. Like, oh my God, I got a backache, and but the body, like, I love what you said at the very beginning of that. When I asked you that, you said, I feel. And that's really big now, because if you really pay attention to your body, even if you're reading something, instead of going, why, they posted that, or whatever it is, or I'm watching that video and that's not right. you feel it in your body. If you just listen to your body, not, you know what I mean, you feel in your body, you can go, wow, that's, my neck is getting, you can feel, and whatever it is, it's not that lightness, and it's pretty easy to, and I think that's really coming online right now, the body, in addition to, like, the things you're talking about, what's being, what's clogged up, and what needs to come up. I want to share something with you, and I want to ask you your opinion on this. I don't normally share stuff on my personal page. I usually share everything in Soulogy, but I saw this post yesterday by this lady, Ananta Kranti, and it caught my attention. She wrote this short post. She says, "You see people pretending to know what's going on." Now, it sounds a little harsh at first, but I get what she's saying. It sounds good. It resonates for others who feel most comfortable when they believe they know what's going on. Thousands will follow a narrative that supports the belief that gets them out of the immense insecurity that comes for the ego when there's nothing to hold on to. So this is like going from one belief system to another, right? It's unbearable for the separate sense of self to not know and to simply be here in all of it. Nobody really knows all the details, yet it's quite obvious. A profound transformation of consciousness is taking shape. To be, capital B, consistently present to this moment takes courage, right? So I'm like, bing, bing, bing. And then she says, this is a very interesting. She says, sovereignty is a carrot for the separate sense of self. Otherwise, there is no need to claim something called sovereignty. The very idea of that is a movement away, right? So how about being fully in the world and not of it? So that really stuck with me because she used the word sovereignty. It's being used and overused, just like everything else, twin flame ascension, enlightened and awakened and all that. But I thought that was interesting because really every single thing, like if I say to you, what's sovereignty? And you ask me, what's sovereignty? And we ask everyone here, it's all these different things. So it's almost like any thinking at all is separating us from self. Any label, and here we go, because the minute I say, oh, Joe, sovereignty is such, such, and such, then you're going to say, well, yes, oh boy, but it's such, such, and such. And then we create this, and I'm just going to use this term as a really meant to be a mild adjective, the toxicity. We create the codependency. So it's a strange situation. It's a strange world we're walking into. But for me, the body is everything now, which makes sense in the paradox because you think it's up in the woo-woo, but it's actually all right here. I mean, I'm getting chills just talking about this. And that to me is where the relationship is now. The relationship is strictly with my body, which you've spoken for 2 years on this show about. And even in what you have presented for 2 years with your expertise and specificity in your purposes revolving around the body, it's evolved, which to me is the body. Like even your recent episode, you had one set of belief systems up until that event. You start seeing rainbows, you start seeing a portal, and then your heart gets clamped like somebody just Schwarzenegger just viced on your heart. I mean, that was the body, right? I mean, the body was seeing that. The body was feeling that. And of course the body is taking that in, and then you went from there. So yeah. But anyway, I don't know if you have any comments on that.
Yeah, I think I've had this for a while now, that words are obfuscating. Sometimes they're meant to clarify situations, but they cause more disturbance because each person will have their own perception based upon their beliefs, and the beliefs will be the filters. And, a belief is something really That's not truth, is it? A belief isn't truth because there's always an element of doubt in a belief system. And I had beliefs when I was a child, and I look back and I can see now that they were childish beliefs because they changed over time. So it's that difference between knowledge and knowing. When you know something's true, don't you? Because you
Mm-hmm.
have that feeling of openness and flow, and it works for you. So I understand completely what that woman lady was saying, right? In that when we try and define anything, we'll all have a different definition based upon our own perceptions, really. And I think true freedom it's sometimes called choiceless awareness because there's just knowing. And in knowing, there's no need for knowledge because wisdom itself, in my mind and the way I feel it, is just a spectator of events, really.
Yeah. Well,
So
that's
I
it.
don't know whether that makes sense, Todd, but
No, it makes
it's
total sense. It's
and,
just
and
like,
and the thing about feelings is, I think when you get to feelings, there's still some sort of a duality there because there needs to be that mix between yin and yang, or
yeah,
masculine and feminine, sort of collaborating with one another. So there's bound to be some sort of dynamic interaction which causes some fluctuation or oscillation. I'll get to this in a minute, but what I'm trying to say is, I think true freedom is when you can't feel anything, right, other
mm,
than flow. All you are then is unconditional love, right? And there's no object attached to it. That's the purest subjective experiences, just flowing,
yeah,
and I keep getting this is, you don't need to change, Joe. Just surrender and you will be automatically changed. The process will occur for you. So there's no need for any confusion anymore. There's no need for any fighting, right? Just let go of understanding or wanting to know how it works and just enjoy enjoy the ride.
the
Enjoy the
fucking ride,
ride,
the
you know.
fucking ride, Liverpool accent, the fucking ride.
So
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's what I've come to out of this experience, Todd.
Mm.
I was in a place there in the accident and emergency department. There were mums with babies having to stand up. There was blood everywhere. There was people possibly dying in the corner. There was no room for anybody to sit down. There were people lying in the corners with all sorts of black eyes and bruises and everything. And in the middle of it all, I'm sitting there in this like observational thing thinking, this is awfully strange. And there was no sense of, it shouldn't be like this. It must be like, there was none of that. I was just sort of watching everything. Even though I was in pain and feeling shit, there was a part of me that was just watching all this process going on.
Yeah. One of the places, I hear you, man, and that's like a real visual in that emergency room. Because I'm a big believer in somebody's always got it worse. Don't even go there. Like
Yeah.
don't even
Yeah.
go there, Todd. You're good. But and then to be in that observer mode and in the human part of it. But one of the things that I'm seeing louder and louder, and I see it on the show, and it's happening. So we most often go into an understanding or an identification of our ego through getting triggered or through coming into our personal biases and prejudices or whatever. But we don't look but we are beginning to, I think, in a really big way, is the other side of that. Let's say that the what we've been used to is the dark, seeing the ego in others and oh, they got a problem or they're triggered or I'm triggered. But what about the light? What about too much light?
Oh,
And
yeah.
this is something that's, I think, running in the communities of the last 10 years, which is where people are pulling downloads in, channelings, and transmissions. I'm telling people every time I interact with them, I just had a message exchange with someone who's been on the show. I'm doing this. I want to talk about that. And I'm like, whoa, Morgan and I are like, whoa, this is not what we're at anymore. It's not about promotion. It's not about marketing. It's not about how, you get all this stuff and you're so fucking special, me included. It's about your transformation. Now that sounds like it's only one story, but it's not. It's stories within stories within stories. It's you running that marathon the other day and having that experience you had. That's transformation. That's also real-time intel. So what I'm trying to say is, I've noticed over the years I've been doing this show, that used to be a really big thing. And you know how things serve you to a certain point. But now it's almost like ego excitability,
Yeah.
right? Like people will come in and say, "Well, I know I'm here for this reason," and I understand that. But what we all need to understand is we're all at the same level here. Okay, we all have gifts, and well, I was a priestess, or I was a priest, and I was this, and I am that. We're really well. You're more than that. We're all more than that. So if I look at Soulogy, which is kind of and even my relationship with Morgan, you know, for every moment that I spend thinking, well, I'm going to do this and we're that and this and that, I'm losing the whole point, because the whole point is living, is life. And I said this before and I'll say it again. There's not a person on the face of the earth, not Jesus, and no disrespect to anyone, because I hold the universe in all points of light, all points of darkness, whatever you want to call it. But nobody can prove to me that we're not warm dirt when we leave this life. Nobody knows.
Exactly.
Nobody knows. Okay. No, not even with the guidance and the apparitions I've had and the dragons and this and that and all that. It doesn't matter. How do I know that that leads to what we believe is eternal life? How do I know? Well, they say energy can't be destroyed. How do you know? So stop thinking about it. This is me talking to me. Stop thinking about it. Wake up every day, and I do it. And you've helped me do this. I don't go through the exact motions you do, but I get it. I breathe in life. I sit on my bed and I say, I am thankful for being Todd. I'm thankful for this incarnation. I'm thankful for what's been my experience. I'm thankful for being a drug addict. I'm thankful for being, well, all the crazy, wild shit that I did. I'm thankful for Morgan Lee. I'm thankful for Soulogy. But these are not mine. This is mine, right? This life is mine. What do I want to do now? I want to get a cup of coffee. I want to go buy a Mexican Coke. I want to have a juice, whatever. Like it's kind of happening. And the great thing about it for me is nothing gets lost. When you do, let's say it's in regard to Morgan. When I do see her later today and we're looking at each other, it becomes an enhanced experience. It's truly just the now, and because all that stuff, whatever happens afterwards, we're going to know. We're going to know, or we're not going to know. So if you're not going to know, you won't. If you are worm dirt, you're not going to know anyway. So there's nothing to know. And if it is what it is, and that's my, if I had to bet, I would say, yeah, this is all leading to what something that's monads and oversouls and past, all that stuff. I think so, but I'm not going to sit here and debate it with myself and have a mind fuck, and I'm not going to mentally masturbate myself anymore. Oh, well, I'm creating a network and this and that and the importance of this and that. No, I'm just relishing being alive. And I can totally relate to what you said in the beginning of the show. Like to be faced with that moment of mortality and say, I want to stay here. That's important to me. And you can also say, I want to go, but that was, to me, like, that's better than a download. That's a multiple orgasmic download to me. To hear a human say, I want to stay. I want to stay. I actually want to stay here for a few hundred years.
Yeah.
But who do I know? I might walk outside tomorrow and get hit by a train. Knock on plastic.
Where I'm up to is I want to see how much more this physical body can do. you know,
Mm-hmm.
because I really do feel that it's powering in now in all sorts of ways through different channels. And I believe that there's 12 channels coming in, guided from the heart. So I've always felt that a lot recently. That when all these come online, I think that's the fully formed whole human being. It's
Yeah.
both a mixture of like material and ethereal, if you like, human and divine. And I think I see that centaur quite a lot and stuff like this. All these things, I really feel that there's more and more power coming in. If we can just get the head out of the way, feel it, and then put the head back on and say, "What can you see now?" I think that's how it's working, really. You know. And
Yeah.
I'm
I
Todd.
like
I
that.
agree. I feel I'm process information very, very similarly to you. And
Well,
the thing
obviously.
I do more than anything else is I wake up and I think, right, what's on the cards today and how can I make the best? My life's become really simple, is
Yeah.
accept what the day offers, almost as if it's being given to you and the stage is set for the day. And then with the resources to hand and your own inner resourcefulness, make the best of what's in front of you. And
Yeah.
that's what I try and do every single day, you know.
Yeah. It was interesting a few days ago. Uh, like everybody, we're going through these big shifts, right? And it was 2 or 3 days ago. Morgan woke up and she sent me a message. She wasn't so good, and so I'm like, okay, let's connect. And she left where she was staying. She drove out to a pond, a duck pond, put out a blanket, and again, you know, she's not, okay. But she puts the blanket down. She, takes her shoes off and just sits on the grass. And with not really so much the intention of, oh, I'm going to ground and I'm going to connect to Mother Earth. And I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. She just did that. And by the time we got on the phone, and we're now going to talk through as we do together, she almost immediately said, you know, I was really, in a certain state, and I came out here. I laid the blanket down. I sit down, and now we're about to talk. And I'm not like 100%, but I've noticed that just coming over here has has brought in more balance, right? So that again is that kind of, what did you call it? Other conscious.
Other
It's
than
like a
conscious.
frequency. It's like something that is never going to be fully explained to you. Like it's not going to be, explained to the nth degree. There's always going to be this little space here. I used to call it when I was on the streets. You guys are giving me 90%.
Yeah.
Where's the other 10? And then they would say, that's for you. That's called faith. And I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. So that's that little piece that will always be the don't know. That's the create. To me, that's the field of creation, I guess.
I think we're doing all right, mate. We're doing,
I do. I think we're doing fantastic.
yeah.
I think we're doing absolutely fantastic. And I feel like that and we can talk dates and all that, but I actually just only as markers, only as points of identification for me. But I think this 11/11, this what we're moving into, people can talk about partial eclipse periods, 11/11, solstice. I feel this powerful, powerful rising that's happening at an accelerated rate. It's moved into warp speed. Like this October thing, it's a stair step. And then we haven't had too many of these. I don't recall ever having one that I felt was collective, and it went boom like that. So what do I see? I see this distortion that's absolutely, it's what the distortion is waking up more people than anything ever has.
Yeah. Yeah.
You turn on the video and you see Joe Biden, who can't even string two words together, and then you look at the media's portrayal of it and you go, okay, fuck this shit. So you and of course all the self introspection. So that's one thing, but this thing that's happening to the individual human beings is phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal, and it doesn't get any press, and it doesn't have to.
one thing I have learned is you can't do much with the first thought. It's what you do with the second thought that counts.
Yeah.
Because the first thought is instinct based. It's there for your protection. That's what the human ego instinct system's for your
Yeah.
protection. But it's how you respond and react and then act upon the second thought then. So if the second thought is one with, oh, hang on, stop.
Yeah.
And then the third thought comes in, take a step back, breathe deeply, then you're on a different footing then. That's how I sort of work it out. Because before I get the first thought and the next thought would be woof, try and react and do something about it there and then. So
Right.
I've been able over time to create a little bit more space between putting the car in drive, so I can stay in neutral a lot longer these days, So that's where I'm up to, Todd. And, all this stuff that I'm saying now, and you said, tomorrow it might be completely irrelevant because everything might have shifted. And so we'll have to take on board a new set of sort of actions based upon not having any clue what's going on, but just feeling our way through it.
Yeah.
That's what I feel I'm up to,
The instinct. Yeah. And like tomorrow, I mean, Morgan and I actually, and I bring these examples up because it's my life, but there's this, like, there is this, to reunite, right? That's just the example, right? But and that's a frequency. Now, what's happening is, to me, and this is an example, could be anything, right? Like, the universe knows my heart. The universe knows her heart. But I don't want to get into we need to do this, that, this, and that. It's more like just holding that frequency, but really not words, not just like, oh, this is all you got to do. And, rub my fat stomach and make a wish. It's not like that. It's like actually just aligning with that frequency. And that sounds like really, oh, well, that's all you got. No, but truly align with that frequency, which is not, oh, we're going to be in this house, we're going to be in this country, or da, da, da. No, it's just that frequency, right? And that's another thing that is coming into play for at least for me in my life, and that's a thoughtless thing. That's a thoughtless thing, and I can't always get there. I might lay down, like last night I was laying down going, oh my God, my whole fucking body is just like dancing. I'm tired. I slept 3.5 hours last night and it's already 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning. There was no way that I was going to it just didn't happen. And that's okay. Right. And I said to my body, what the hell's going on? I don't know. You're awake. Your cells are vibrating. You're reforming. Yeah, but what about sleep patterns? What are sleep patterns? Exactly. So it's just, it's just like, you're right. Tomorrow we wake up but it is instinct in the feeling of the body to me, It's weird though. It is weird, Dr. Joe.
Oh, absolutely. It's weird, it's hilarious, and it's deadly serious all at the same time.
Yeah. Right on. So,
all right, my brother.
See
I love you like that, mate.
We'll see you next middle of next month.
Yeah.
Or no, I think we're actually doing around the solstice, aren't we? Let me see. Wait, I'm already ahead. I'm thinking December. No, you're on the 24th November. And we got December. Okay. So yeah, give your wife a big hug from me.
Will do. And loads of love to Morgan too.
Yeah, I'll tell her. I'll see her in here in a little bit. But yeah, take care of yourself, and I hope you stick around for a while as well.
Oh, you can't get shut of me that easily, mate.
Yeah, I can't have any. You're like the whetstone, man. The whetstone of the soul, my soul brother, man. All right, I'll be back in I think 2.5 hours, something like that, with another show.